I'm now recording.
Okay, so Jackie, question 1. How dare you? How dare you?
Wow, we're really fucking in it. Right out of the gates.
We literally just started, and here we are. Here we are.
Literally just started.
Welcome to the podcast, Jackie.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the third installment of the What Did the Gays Think podcast Pride series for 2022. In the first 2 episodes, we had some interviews with myself, Matt, and also our dearest Pat, where we probed each other with questions.
Please, no more probing.
No, I don't think I want to be here anymore.
And today we have on the podcast a regular who might as well be a co-host of the podcast, honestly, at this point. We have Jackie. How you doing, Jackie?
Hi. Well, I was good until I heard about probing. Now I'm a little bit rethinking my life choices.
Weren't we just talking about probing like 5 seconds before the podcast started?
Yes. However, I wasn't the subject of that conversation, so
I wouldn't know a thing.
No, you wouldn't. But I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Well,
I didn't say what was sore.
No one was going to I wasn't going to out you further than that. You outed yourself.
No, first of all, I didn't say what was sore. So, also, can we talk about how good I look right now?
You do look very
You look
nice.
amazing.
Oh my god, my skin is so clear. The haircut, the shirt. I'm so sorry.
I love.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry for giving boners on this day. I'm so sorry to give everyone an erection.
Matt, you're not matching me and Pat. Like, we're both wearing patterns.
I'm not very floral. Well, I worked out before this.
You're wearing a solid.
Just take off the shirt, honey.
Oh my god, here we go. No. No, I worked out before this, so I have like workout clothes on because I haven't gone to shower yet.
You smelly boy.
Today,
how are you, Matt?
Today was leg day.
Leggy.
No, I'm good. I did my leg day. I watched Fire Island again. While eating Chinese food, and
Cute.
And then I took about a 30-minute nap before we came here, and now I'm all good. I'm all good.
I don't know how you do that. I cannot. I don't. 30-minute naps.
If I take any sort of nap,
hours,
and I wake up feeling worse.
Yep.
Listen, I knew we had to record, and I also knew that I was dead from the Chinese food. So I was like, I'm just gonna lay here, and then once they eventually wake me up with their messages, I will be ready.
Once they harass me, you mean?
Oh God.
Bless you.
Oh my God, thank you. So we're gonna get into this probing.
I
Did you bring lube?
I brought spit.
Here we are.
Here we go.
All right, so Pat, do you want to start with some of your questions? Maybe we can alternate.
Sure. Yeah. So as avid listeners of the podcast will know, we were doing a series where we were interviewing each other, and today we now turn our attention. Say this? Well, I'm getting there. We turn our attention to Jackie, and I'd like to start off with this question. How do you self-identify, and can you introduce yourself to everyone in case they don't know?
Are you doing a voice? Like, should
a voice?
A voice.
Are you doing a voice? Should I do a voice?
You could do whatever you want. It's your episode.
I am Jackie. Welcome to this NPR interview.
Yes.
We're here on the What Do the Gays Think podcast. My name's Jackie. I identify, I guess, as gay. I don't know. Like, it's certainly not straight, but I don't know if I have a specific word that I gravitate towards. I think out of the quote-unquote your standard LGBTQ plus terms, the ones that I really gravitate towards are just gay, queer, bisexual, even though I don't really I probably don't fall under the definition of bisexual, but I think that these terms are should also be very personal, and whatever you identify as and vibe with the most, go for it. So
of course,
that's how I identify.
And what are your pronouns?
I was just about to say, gender-wise, I am going more by they, them. So probably gender-wise, non-binary.
Oh God.
Anyway.
Here we already did our multiverse madness episode.
Hold on.
What?
You've exhausted my pussy.
Okay.
Matthew, would you like to take the next question?
Sure. You know what? I will just ask the second question that's on your questions because I feel like that is a good, or I guess. Oh wait, where do you have this question? Never mind. I don't remember where you had it, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Literally, my second question was, how do you self-identify? Are you not looking at
You
my
have
list?
this question somewhere. I just don't remember. Jackie, in 3 words, what does pride mean for you? Because we asked this to
on their phone. On their phone.
No, listen, cunt. Listen, you little cock gobbler. I wrote this down like a week ago when I was listening to the interview with Matt, and
So you do listen to the podcast.
I don't know. I wrote this down before I got to what Matt's answer was, but I do want to go back to Matt's answer at some point. So to me, in 3 words, pride means celebration, self-love, and acceptance. But I really like Matt's answer of protest because I think that's very important and especially in this year of our Lord 2022, very relevant. But those are my 3 words.
Yes, and pride, you know, everyone says pride is a protest. I don't know if that really I don't know if it's still true to this day. I always say pride was originally a protest, but like I nowadays, like, I don't see as many pride protests occurring. It's more of like celebration, which is amazing. But yeah, pride still is kind of like, in a way, a protest against the heteronormative normal society, I guess you could say.
I think any sort of outward showing against a societal construct, in which case I'm talking about the sort of superiority of heterosexual society, is a protest no matter what you're doing. So if you're out there dancing, if you're out there screaming, if you're out there sitting quietly, the forms of protest take many forms. Protest takes many forms.
Yeah.
Hello?
I think that's a really valid point, and just being yourself in a space that normally you might not be able to do that or show or wear a pride flag down the street that would otherwise be viewed differently. Protest.
Yeah. Okay. What was the first instance you realized you were queer?
It feels like I'm being like I'm under. I don't know. Like
this is actually a January 6th riot investigation. This is the broadcast.
This is what this feels like. Yeah.
So
on C-SPAN. Yeah.
What I mean when I ask first instance, I don't necessarily mean when you realized you weren't straight, but you realized something was amiss. There was something in the water. Yeah.
I probably was consciously aware of it sometime in high school, but really was deeply unsettled and upset by that, and really did not want to be. I did not at all want to be in the category that I thought I was. And so it caused like a few years of kind of figuring out like, oh fuck, like, am I a lesbian? And it made me do a lot of reflecting on childhood memories too. For example, this is one of the first ones that I can think of. I wasn't aware, that this was probably a queer memory, but to me now it probably is. When Hercules, the Disney animation came out, they made, like Barbie dolls of the characters. And I had a Meg Barbie doll. And I think I felt a certain way about my Meg Barbie doll. She was just so cute.
When she sang, what's her number? The gays are gonna read us.
The gays are gonna drag us.
The Disney gays. John is really gonna be upset about this.
Disney gays, John.
Well-known Disney gay.
Yeah, but when she had that song,
John actually.
Oh, that's what I meant. Of course, that's what I meant. Obviously. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, but consciously and aware of what those feelings meant, and the implication was not until I was in, my late teens.
Okay, Matt, would you like to take the next one, or do you want me to bounce off of that? Because my next question kind of catapults a little bit on it.
Well, then you go ahead with the follow-up question then.
So when you started to realize you were queer, what were the first things you saw about it? Matt and I were talking about it. We mostly realized, when we were young at least, it was more negative things that society was showing us. So, we saw people using the word fag as a derogative to make fun of other kids. We saw in like in like media negative treatment, or in film and television usually negative treatment. So
me getting called a fag.
They're all dead. Yeah.
Matt being called being changed into fag.
I don't remember. Jack, did you listen to that episode? I don't remember.
I listened to yours. I haven't listened to Pat's.
Well, was that part of that episode? I don't even remember.
I don't remember. I don't. That doesn't ring a bell about Pat being changed into a fag.
No,
that was me.
Matt's me when he had a me on the Wii system.
Oh, that yes. Yeah.
Anyway, obviously, like Matt Moore.
Wasn't it a hard? It was a hard T.
It was a hard T. Yeah.
It was a hard
the
T
name got changed.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Matt Moore, you listened to his interview, but not mine.
Here we go.
So, anyway, assuming for us a lot of it was negative, what were the negative? And if you have positives, great. What were those first things you saw about the queer community, and how did they affect your coming out process in terms of coming to terms with your identity and then eventually coming out?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if I had many positive portrayals of the queer community until I was essentially on my own in college and able to explore those things and come out in a safe space, to kind of figure out what they meant to me. Because I think that growing up, I don't think it didn't take even necessarily direct portrayals of the queer community to form a negative correlation in my head, because there's so much commentary and subtle, the structure of society that already made that negative. So a lot of my youth was surrounded by concepts built upon that. And, just, your classic snide comments or, negative comments that, gays this, gays that.
Why are they shoving in our faces?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like, I don't, I don't know why they need, like, I remember, I don't want to say who this was. Someone who what? What? Someone who I really looked up to and admired, this was late in high school, and it was a teacher, made a comment that, like, gay people shouldn't need to get married or something. That they shouldn't need to have it legalized because, basically it was something along the lines of like a tax scam or something, they just want it for like the tax breaks. It was something along those lines. And so I think being surrounded by a lot of commentary such as that and people of the similar mindsets and opinions, I didn't have really, positive experiences. And even now, very hard with my family at times.
So I'll just ask another question to follow up on that. How did you begin to like deconstruct that?
With the family?
Or just the negative things you saw about the queer community? How did you begin to deconstruct it to see that it was positive or accepting, or that it was society giving you these negative, ideas of it, and that in truth it wasn't actually that?
I think it was being surrounded by so many different people in college.
Yeah.
And having eventually a very close, supportive friend group in college. And our relationship in college was a huge cornerstone of my queer and coming out process that I think if you and I like had not met or had not become the friends that we had, my trajectory could have been very different. And I might have been so much either slower to come out and, be myself, or, could have hid it for so much longer. And that thought is very sad. So I'm really glad that we started to develop the friendship that we had, because that started to restructure, my thought process and experiences. And I think media at the time always especially portrayed gay males a certain way in media. And so actually knowing gay men on a very personal basis, you and a few other people in college, really helped challenge those perceptions and, subconscious beliefs that ye old media had formed in my head.
Yeah.
Strange, because Matt is the archetype of gay media. He's just a big old faggot.
Am I?
No, you're not.
I know. I was gonna say.
Jackie, I'm touched.
Harshy.
I'm touched,
What?
Jackie.
Oh, good. Well, I'd love to touch you.
Okay. So, different question for you, kind of in the same vein, but besides your like identity with your sexuality, Pat and I also talked a little bit about the transgender community too, in the when I interviewed him. So my question to you is like, when did you start like learning about the transgender community? Like, what was your relationship like with it, and how did you learn about it? And then obviously you came to terms. You say you're non-binary now.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how was your journey to get there? I'll ask.
My journey is fairly new, honestly. You know, like I think I was grappling so much with like the first step of my sexuality that then I started to look at some of the bigger things that didn't quite feel like fleshed out from having one little puzzle element solved. I kind of started to look more at stuff, and that's what led me down to being more curious and wanted to know more about, you know, non-binary people or people who are transgender and all that stuff. So I would say honestly fairly new, and I still feel like, you know, I am a new like friend of the transgender community, especially now that I know more and I'm more educated, and I know many more people who are transgender and can see again, you know, so many other life experiences that are not my own and how they identify, that it's just been a wonderful jumping point. But I definitely feel like I am not well versed with the transgender community.
Unlike Matt and I, very versed.
Yeah, you're a lot of you're very versed.
Well, versed, yes. Well versed, maybe. Yes. We always have, as two cisgendered gay men, we definitely both have, you know, a lot of ways of learning in that front.
Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Do you want to jump off, or can I take the next question?
Go ahead, Pat. Go ahead.
The word dyke. Oh. Now, this is genuine. This is a genuine question.
No, I know. As I think I remember reading this question.
The viewers don't know, but we had a little experiment running. Excuse me. We had a little experiment running where basically, you know, Matt and I, being gay men, have no real qualms about using the term fag or faggot very often, because, you know, it's just something that we use, and if you watched Fire Island, it really just means sisters. So,
I agree with that, though. I really do.
I do agree with that. But I think, you know, there are other, obviously, slang for many other LGBTQIA plus members, or QIA2 plus. Okay, shut up and let me get the question out. So we had an experiment with dyke, because dyke is more pejorative term for a lesbian usually. And there are variants of it, obviously, but kind of to see if it had the same sort of weight as the word fag, and if it could be repurposed to be more of like a friendly term, or like something you could say. And we went with this for a while, and, you know, I think, Jackie, you could tell us where we landed on it and how you feel about this word, because while you may not necessarily say you're a lesbian, you know, you are in that field, right, of being with other women, yes, or female presenting people, yes, or people with feminine qualities. So how do you feel about the word? And does it have the same for you? Does it have the same sort of meaning as fag?
So, yeah, and just to give context to the experiment, too, it was something I asked Matt and Pat to do for anyone who was like, oh my god, I can't believe these men just started calling them a dyke. Asked for unbidden, which is like, dyke. No, I asked Matt and Pat to do this because I wanted to see if I identified with that word, if that felt right to me. And this went on for a while, and ultimately, what I concluded is I don't identify as a dyke. And that's fine. Like, that's cool with me. And I think for some people, they do identify as dyke or butch, and that's their anthem, that's their jam. So I think it can, for some women or some female presenting people, present in be a word that's like very home to them. It's, you know, their word. For me, it's not my identity, but in our friend group, we have started intermingling it more. And that to me is fun. That to me is fun and okay. Like, I really enjoy calling, you know, you two dykes, for example.
Yeah.
Or saying something is very dyke energy.
Yeah, like I don't think Matt and I would appreciate if someone we didn't know coming up calling us a fag. Just like I don't think you would appreciate someone coming to you and being like, "Hey, dyke."
Yeah, exactly. I think if that happened, I think my jaw would be on the floor for about 2 minutes before I picked it back up and just punted them right in the cunt.
Okay.
I don't think, though, as a whole, that dyke is a good word. Like, it's still not. It just doesn't feel right still to me.
I think fag has become a little more sanitized with how, because I think it's fair to say that the gay part of LGBTQIA 2+ is like the most prevalent in media in our daily lives. So I think since it gets more exposure, so does the word fag and faggot, and they become a little more sanitized, which is, I think, a good thing for people within the community, but I think it's also a bad thing because then people outside of the community start feeling like they can say it sort of nonchalantly.
I can recall several times, especially like in college, using the word fag, because obviously I am one and I feel like I could, using it in kind of like a playful manner, and then a straight person coming back and like being like, "Oh yeah, fag." I'm like,
no.
Hey, fag. Yeah. Some person like you don't know, and they're like, "Oh my god, but you're my fag, right?" I'm like, "I'm not."
No.
I was like, I said it, but that doesn't give you permission to. You're not reclaiming it. I am.
Right.
It's a different connotation.
It's very different, and there is a clear boundary there. And that's uncomfy to have a person over insert themselves into wink into basically what's a closed off community, a community that's trying to, like, you know, rebuild themselves and be a safe place. And I think it's common for straight people or people of the dominant culture to not realize the impact of their words. And I think we see that across the board in so many other communities. For me, phonetically, it's just so harsh. Yeah. I don't think we're quite there. Like you said, Pat, I don't think we're quite there yet. I've said this to you, I identify more with fag than I do with dyke. It's just, it doesn't quite feel like my word.
It has a harder tone. The consonants, really, the D, the K, it's rough. Faggot with the hard T is a little hard at the end, but fag being, they're softer, softer sounds.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bitter than dyke. I'm like, oh god,
Jesus. Like, it's, oh my god, it scares me every time.
My favorite discourse, and by my favorite I mean my least favorite discourse on the internet, is discourse regarding slurs. I'm not gonna lie. Because,
in what regard? I mean, if you want to get into it, about whether, like, we should gatekeep them amongst each other, or...
Well, see, from my perspective, like, in terms of, like, within the queer community, gatekeeping terms I think is stupid, because, like, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Right, and it's all a spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there is a lot of discourse within the queer community. So some people will say, like, oh, if you're not MLM, then don't say the word fag. And I'm like, I don't really care about that. Like,
yeah, I don't care.
But there are certain people that are like that, and I'm like, okay, you can gatekeep the word fag. I don't know.
MLM?
Like a male-loving male relationship.
Oh, okay. I was like,
you ever heard that term?
I have, but I guess I must have.
Like
I knew it was a thing.
WLW.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I think it's an older term.
Yeah.
It's a slightly older term for those things.
Yeah, I still see it on the interwebs, though, so I'll throw it around.
Yeah.
Next question. Jackie.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
What is a woman? No. No.
I don't even know how to answer that. I really don't. Whatever you want it to be.
Whatever you want.
If you are, sure. I don't care.
What is your relationship like with religion?
I saw this question and I thought it was so interesting that it was on the ask list.
Do you not want to answer it? We could skip over it.
No, I'm fine to answer. I thought you maybe were gonna say like, oh, for like whatever reason you wanted to ask it. I thought it was curious.
Well, I mean, from the queer community's perspective, especially during Pride, we know that some of the most ardent, I don't want to say supporters, the most ardent dis-supporters, I don't know, people who don't support the queer community, right?
Yeah, fuck
the loudest speakers tend to be people within religion. Especially in this country, Christianity. So I was just wondering, like, what's your relationship like with religion, and if that at all impacts, your queerness? What's that kind of dynamic like?
I think growing up, I was a little bit quote unquote more religious. Nothing like and this is a really funny story. I might have told you guys this. I don't know however old I was. At a certain age, when kids went to Sunday school, several of my friends were going to Sunday school, and I wasn't. And I would hear about, because I went to like a Presbyterian preschool, and I heard about like them going to Sunday school, and I convinced my mom to take me to Sunday school. I was like, I want to go to Sunday school. This is for me. I love it. And she's like, I really don't think you'll like it. And so I went once or twice, and I was like, "You're right.
You're right. I didn't like it.
I didn't like this." So I don't think I have a very developed relationship with religion. I've gone through, certain questioning of things, and where I identify now is more spiritual than following a religion or a certain religion by strict forms.
What kind of What kind of spirituality do you have?
I think there's bigger shit. Well, let me backtrack. I think humans are so stupid. So dumb. Like, so dumb and so arrogant.
Yeah.
I do think there's larger stuff that happens in our realm of existence, but I don't have quite a thought on, what those things are. But I think there's other stuff, that happens that we are not aware of or dismiss. And yeah.
Breaking news. Jackie has thoughts about the universe, but doesn't know what they are.
Basically, yeah. Like, I think there's higher powers and shit and spirits and energies, but I don't think I have any, and I don't know if they are, in a formulated structure where the man is portrayed as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed savior, and
yeah.
God is a man, and
God is a woman.
God is a woman. Why the fuck would man? There's so much stuff I could get into, and like I was having an interesting conversation with our friend T, and we were talking about religion at one point, and they were saying, which I didn't know this, that in older versions of the Bible, God is not gendered, and I think that's so exactly. I think that's so interesting and goes to show how much is subject to perception and, the rewriting of history and stuff like that. And that could be a whole discourse. But I don't have a huge relationship with religion or a religion.
Yeah, I think I even talked with Pat in the last one that, like, if there is a God, at least from my perspective, if there is a God, then they would definitely not correspond to, like, human genders. Or even, like, in general, like, in animals, male versus female, like, God wouldn't need to reproduce, so I don't see how they could even be gendered at all. So I'm like, if there is a God, then they're definitely not gendered.
No, they're laughing at our stupidity, and
yeah, it's like, those humans need to have sex to have babies. What the fuck?
Their dicks need to be on the outside of their bodies. Losers.
They don't have a cloaca? What are those humans doing?
Pathetic.
Oh my God.
Shit and piss separately?
Two different holes? Why?
Oh my God. For real.
Side note, though, I do think I don't believe there's, any sort of greater creator out there, but I do think that if one did exist, it would be impossible to perceive it. And it's this great idea in mathematics that I'm hoping I'm getting right, but basically, we can see dimensionality that's lower than ours, obviously. So we can see 3 dimensions, 2 dimensions, 1 dimension. Anything of a higher dimensional order we can't actually perceive completely because we can't experience that other dimension. So I expect that anything that is greater, that would have created everything, is of like the 5th, 6th, 7th, who knows, higher dimensional, and you'd never be able to perceive it completely. You'd probably be able to see some of it, but you would not even grasp what you're actually looking at because it's not, we don't exist on that plane, obviously.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I think in that concept, like, time is considered the 4th dimension.
Yeah.
And then apparently, I think the 5th dimension is like, since time is the 4th dimension, and then the 5th dimension is like time branching out into different universes. So if you go into the 5th dimension, like, you're in the multiverse at that point. So
yeah, I imagine it's completely incomprehensible. So if you want to think of it, awesome, but I don't think we'd ever get to any sort of understanding of what it actually looked like. So the idea that it's a man or corporeal or a being that people have experienced is completely, at least in my idea, completely strange.
Oh yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Moving on from this, I'll let Pat go. Pat, would you like to go?
Oh, sure, Daddy.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're out, right? This isn't you're coming out, right? This would be awkward.
This isn't going to be broadcast.
Well, right? No, it will be, but no one's going to listen, so you don't have to worry.
We're on C-SPAN, so probably no one's watching
no
anyway.
One's watching.
This is C-SPAN? I did not know this. I didn't know.
So, this is a January 6th
hearing.
Oh, right.
It's my day. I stormed the Capitol with Medea.
Not surprised.
Interview with Jackie. Jackie, you stormed the Capitol, right?
Yes.
Now that you're out,
hello, FBI.
What has been the biggest sort of boon or thing you've gotten from being out that has been positive? Obviously, I don't want to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
So now that you're out, what's like been the best thing about being out? I think one of Matt's answers was his boyfriend, I think, and then the idea of
gay.
I know, right? Fucking Christ. And then the idea of community as well. So what is it?
I would say the biggest boon is self-confidence and validation, because for me, my experience was very much, once I accepted and knew kind of who I was, it was spent, very much hiding and mitigating parts of myself to keep within a certain conformity or box for presentation and, all this other stuff. And
we know how much you love box.
I love
Here
boxes.
I
love being in a box.
Eating box.
What?
Here we go.
For me, it was the release of constraint and the ability to be more of myself, and that was very freeing. And of course, like now I have a wonderful partner who I am able to share a lot of queer experiences with.
Yeah,
and here we go. And definitely the sense of community and so many friends have been made through my queer experience.
I live.
Wow, I laugh.
Matthew.
Let me see. Okay, this one I feel is good. Jackie, the Pride movement in general. Yeah. What do you think, in your opinion, is what the Pride movement or like the gay rights movement, what should they be focusing on right now? Like, what's the most important thing that we should be fighting for right now?
Taking away our rights. We have too many rights.
Too many. Biden, we gotta rethink these rights.
I really think the gay community is too spoiled. Like, we can vote, we can be out. I really think that we need to go back to our roots of hiding. No, I think right now it's very topical with so many rights, not just LGBTQ plus rights being questioned, but children's rights and women's rights are being questioned, that I think it's incredibly important for the LGBTQ plus community to stand by all of our people, women, people of color, trans children, etc., and do our best to protect each other and really, really fight to either maintain or progress our rights. Honey, right now, I just want to maintain them because I think the political situation is kind of scary and dire. That I don't know if we're gonna progress much in right now, but for sure want to maintain them.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is because for a while, like for years, for decades even, the big like rallying cry for the Pride movement was like gay marriage, right? And then in 2015, I think we finally got that, right? Gay people are allowed to marry nationally. That was like the big hooray celebration. And then from there, we saw, like, generally speaking, at least in society, we saw everyone move to support gay marriage. Well, not everybody, but a large portion of at least the American population moved to support same-sex marriage. But obviously we've seen, especially during the Trump presidency, a lot of other rights being attacked. So, like, what's our rallying cry right now? Like, what are we fighting for?
If I had to make up a chant, do you want it like a chant?
Oh, like, just like, what's the one issue that we need to focus on the most, I'd say?
Oh, God.
All issues are important, but, like...
all lives matter.
Oh, God.
Pat's face is killing me. Oh, man, that's really hard to narrow in on one because I feel like we are attacked from so many sides right now. Oh, my God. You know what? I think right now it would be protecting children. I think that is kind of the first thing I can think of with so many states moving to not say gay and have, random genital checks on children to see if they're trans. So I think right now
very Christian.
I know.
Very churchy.
Very church priest.
Yeah, checking genitals.
Vibes. Yeah. So I think it would be something along the lines of protecting gay children, trans children, etc.
Yeah. Especially when people think that if a child sees a drag queen, then they're going to become perverse and corrupted.
I really can't with that. My partner and I went to our local Pride yesterday, and there were drag queens performing there. And the amount of children and youth there was almost bringing me to tears. It was so wholesome because I hate children. I don't want to see them. The amount of children there just kind of being themselves and celebrating themselves. The amount of youth I saw. I don't know why I'm calling them youth. I don't know what the fuck. Kids? I don't know.
That birthday's coming up and you are looking at them at a different age.
I'm just like, oh, no. But the amount of kids wearing, trans flags and the spectrum of presentation that I saw was really incredible. I saw what looked like young boys wearing skirts, and they had on makeup. It was so wholesome. And then the drag queens that were performing, I've never seen so many kids run out and tip these drag queens and hand them dollars. I was just incredible. Like, you are being raised right. You tip your drag queens and you teach that shit at a young age. Amen.
A
woman.
God
is a woman.
Yeah, that's all I had to ask about that.
Yeah.
All right, Jackie. I asked Matt about this, and his opinion changed since last time we spoke about it.
Oh, I know what you're gonna ask. It does belong.
The dick belongs in the ass. I know. Now, does kink belong at Pride? This kind of bounces off of the whole drag queen thing, I think, and what you see at a Pride event.
Since last year, I think my answer has changed as well. I think it does belong at Pride because ultimately it's a place for people who are marginalized, especially, to be in a community and be seen and be accepted. And I think it's very important to acknowledge all of those people. And I think ultimately, as a society, on so many levels, we suppress sexuality. And it makes us incredibly uncomfortable with each other and with ourselves. So I think the more that we are able to re-embrace this, and I'm looking at you, Christianity, because you are a fucking big culprit of this, of, putting it in a box and marking it as evil.
Yeah,
Why would we not? I think it's like having kink and stuff at Pride is on the same level of teaching kids about sex education. Like, they kind of go hand in hand for me, and I think they're very important. Well, no, not at the same time. Not the same
Your
time.
hands are gonna be very full.
They would be very full.
It's a lot of things.
Just a lot of things.
Just dangling.
Just bits everywhere.
Yeah.
A side note, interesting side note. I'm actually going to Folsom East next weekend in the city. So do either of you know what the Folsom Street Fair is?
No.
The Folsom Street Fair is usually held in San Francisco, and it is a BDSM leather festival. So it's very public. It's very public. It's outdoors. And you got, your bears, your leather daddies, jocks, whatever. You got people dressed up in all sorts of memorabilia, attire, and it's another sort of form of expression. I believe there's also like furries, dog suits, cat suits, whatever. And I'm going to go to Folsom East, which is in New York, because usually it's a West Coast thing. And I will report back about what I see. I've dipped my toe. I've dipped my toes in leather before.
You gonna wear anything?
I'm going to wear something. I don't know what yet.
Okay.
The problem is you have to get there. That means I have to be dressed and get there and use public transportation. So I might be dressed and have something on top of it. Then when I get there, I'll just take
Whip
it off.
It out.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I wanted to just give a side note.
Yes.
So I'll have
I'll
have a special report later after next week.
I'm curious. Yeah, keep an eye out for kids. Like, I'm curious how the kid.
Yeah.
Don't go looking for them, but yeah, just like.
Well, I don't go looking for kids usually because I don't enjoy them. So I don't seek them out. That's for damn sure.
I love that tweet from Trixie Mattel.
Yes.
I think it was like a Republican, I don't know, conservative, was just like, keep drag queens away from children or something. Yeah. And Trixie Mattel just goes, "Girl, I hate kids."
I hate kids.
I mean, yes. I understand, especially as a professional doing something, having a child around that doesn't understand the boundaries or the behavior that you do during a performance or when someone is performing or doing something. It could be very upsetting, and I don't even like them. I don't even like them naturally.
No.
Naturally.
But Matthew. Oh, Jackie.
I was just gonna say I agree with that statement. And I think it's, one of the drag queens was saying there's a time and a place, for everything.
Yeah, like I'm not bringing kids to the fucking drag show at Pieces at night. It's in a bar.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing them to the Ritz.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. I wouldn't bring your kid to any bar in general.
Oh my god, my dad did growing up. Oh my god.
I wouldn't do that. That's more of an adult space, I would say.
A lot of smoking before New York passed the law that said you couldn't smoke in bars, so I was just getting that secondhand nicotine.
That's why you're coughing so much now.
Lung cancer, mama.
My god.
Mama. Gaga.
It all comes together.
Gaga. Anyway, Jackie, do you have any advice, based on your experience with queerness so far, do you have any advice for, like, young people who are perhaps navigating queerness for the first time? What would you tell them?
I would tell the youth to the youth. Hello, it's me, your elder, speaking to you. I would say to find as many safe spaces as you can. Band with people who are going through similar things. Find your chosen family. Find people who are supportive of you, even if it's just one person. It can make all the difference in the world. And be as gentle and supportive of yourself as possible. It's a challenging thing to go through. And self-care and self-love is extremely important during any period of personal growth or transformation or assessment of identity. And celebrate yourself. Find ways to do that.
Oh.
Find people who celebrate you, too. Like, it's all super important.
I'd like to make a little addendum to something I said during this question as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cheesy. It's so disgusting. And I hate that I'm going to say it, but it's so true. It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
especially with how, as long as you're coming from like, with good faith from a positive standpoint, like there is, reality and pain to, let's say, being misgendered, to misidentified, being called the wrong thing, or even calling yourself the wrong thing, and then you realize you're not that thing. So I think as long as you're always coming from a positive outlook with good faith, it's okay to make mistakes. And I just hope that everyone who sees you making a mistake is compassionate enough to have an open dialogue where they're like, hey, you said this. This is how that made me feel. This is context for, what we're talking about. I know, be open to learning from mistakes as well. So I think that's important.
I think that's important. And to actually add on to that, you yourself will make mistakes. And sometimes your closest people and cheerleaders and supporters will also make mistakes. And that can be very painful and feel like a massive betrayal. And I think it's really important to remember that those people are coming ultimately from a place of love and care. And if you can have, the same patience with them and same open conversation with them about those mistakes, it will only benefit you in the end, because once you find your people who are with you, that's it.
And if they're not,
win.
if they're coming from places of bad faith, of people who don't want to learn or be open to learning, fucking leave them.
Drop them.
Leave them in a ditch.
Drop them. The amount of people
leave them in your dust.
Speak to anymore, or the amount of people I avoid to the most, people that are related to me, people that aren't related to me, your life becomes so much better when you don't have to put in the extra work to try to change someone's mind who does not want to be changed.
Exactly.
Boundaries.
So important.
This is part of the reason why I deleted Facebook from my phone. Because it's right. that app right now, at least, is filled with very toxic adults that are within my family, some not in my family as well. But yeah, I just do not want to see their toxicity. So I just don't look.
Toxic in the community.
And that's your boundary. It's okay to have boundaries. Establish them and respect them for yourself, and have other people respect them. And if not, that's that. Don't waste your time and energy.
I think this has been quite enlightening. Jackie, unless Matt, you have something else. Jackie, do you have any questions for us? Do you have anything you want to say?
Actually, I do. One of the questions I related to one of the ones you had written down. How do you feel about cops at Pride? And also, how do you feel about churches at Pride? I meant to ask the churches at Pride during the religion part, and I forgot.
Do you want me to go first, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Well, because Jackie didn't listen to my interview, so she doesn't. they don't know my answer. But the cops thing, basically, I said, people listen to my episode. It's a little more detailed, but I basically said that they should not be walking in the parade. If they're there to help facilitate the protection of the parade, that is fine, but I don't think they should be walking in it. And I think when it's churches, I don't know every religion. I only know the three main ones plus some other random ones. So we're talking about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All the Abrahamic ones, I believe. And, you got some Buddhism, spirituality, and shit like that, and Taoism. But from what I understand, all religious texts, which these religions are based off of, either explicitly say or have been through the centuries sort of used to subject and disenfranchise people who are not the norm. I'm talking about heterosexual people, and usually men. If you're not a heterosexual man, you're done. So I don't think any religion or any sect of any religion has done enough groundwork to warrant their place in a pride parade as a float or as a group. I know there are sects of Christianity that do gay marriages, and if you're a religious gay person and that's your sect, I'm so happy for you. I'm happy you found something that vibes, but I can't, in good faith, reconcile the abuse that the community has received from this group and similar groups just because a few people have a different interpretation of the text. The main interpretation is that gay people are going to hell and they're going to burn there forever. And I can't vibe with it. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be so toasty in the afterlife.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna find
super
I'm gonna find
Reagan. Yep.
I'm gonna put my fucking arm up his ass.
Oh,
I am like a puppet. Matt, how would you respond?
So for the cops at Pride one, I also don't think they should be in the parade. Because again, Pride is a protest, and it has always been a protest. Again, I think specifically it started from the Stonewall riots, which was a confrontation with police. So I don't think they should be in the parade. I agree with Pat that if they're there to facilitate, maybe not like they don't have to be on top of everything, but to.
I mean,
but also like any.
About police stopping him.
Yeah, I've heard discourse about like not even cops that are queer can even be there. And I'm like, no, if a cop is queer and is there to celebrate and not in uniform, like they're not there to be a cop, they're there to be queer and to celebrate with everyone else, then yeah, obviously they should be there. Like that's at least my opinion. And I feel the same thing with like Christianity too. So if you're a Christian and you're gay and you're there to be queer and to celebrate, obviously you should be there and be accepted. Just because you're Christian doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to be there. But like the church is like an organization who's always been, well, I say the church, but like, Christianity in general, perhaps who has always been kind of aggressive towards the queer community. Again, maybe not being in the parade or there as an organization, but individuals, right, who are queer and are Christian and are there to celebrate and not cause problems. Can obviously be there. At least that's my opinion.
I want to just quickly add something. It's strange that, because Matt, you said that it was fine as long like if the cop wasn't in uniform and they were celebrating that they were just gay because they're gay. It's just strange that you would have people willingly be a part of groups that treat people within their community so awfully terrible, because I'm thinking about myself, like I loved Harry Potter, but now that J.K. Rowling is a TERF, I don't vibe with anything Harry Potter related. And that's just an interest of mine, and I won't do it because I'm that, especially for the trans community that gets so much shit. I'm so stringent on it that I won't even associate with her in any sort of capacity. I didn't watch the new movie. I don't want to play the games. I don't want to go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I have, but I don't want to anymore. And that's just an interest. I can't imagine my occupation, my job, having so much negative history with something that I value so much in myself. So they should be able to be there if they're out, I think, out of uniform, out of their, what do the priests wear, the little collar?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. I think, sure, but it's so, I always find that interesting that these people can have sort of the mental reconciliation between these two very opposing parts and still move forward with their lives without like a huge conflict within them at all times. Or maybe they do have a huge conflict and they just somehow get past it. But I don't know how you do that, but it's interesting that they do that.
Yeah, I think from the perspective of Christians, I'll usually say, my view on this is from like people chatting in like TikTok comments, honestly. But there'll be a TikTok, let's say for example, of that one pastor. That one pastor's like, all gay people should die, right? That was a recent video that was going around.
I saw that. Horrifying.
But then in the TikTok comments, there'll be a bunch of people being like, not all Christians are like this. Not all of us hate gay people. Like some of us don't believe in everything that the Bible says, but we're still Christians. We still believe in Jesus, etc. We still follow Jesus' teachings, whatever. I do find that to be very interesting because, again, I think the church as an organization is generally very homophobic. But individual people within that organization, and there can also be gay people who are Christian, but still celebrate their queerness. I think it is a very interesting dynamic. I don't think we should bar Christians from Pride.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's not the solution here. No.
Yeah, But I just think it's a whole very interesting dynamic. Go ahead, Jackie.
Mm-hmm. And so say my answer to the questions that I pose is pretty much agreed on the cop front. If you're there to protect, well, be working the protection front for Pride, whatever, patrolling, whatever. Do not be marching in Pride, that type of thing. No. As for churches at Pride, there were several at the Pride that I went to, and I don't know if I noticed any in previous Prides, or I didn't quite take note of it, but I was taking note of it at the Pride that we were at, and reflecting on it, and concluded that, I was okay with it, because those places were trying to make it as apparent as possible that they were there to support all manner of people, and I saw so many like booth decorations and stuff that were really engaging and trying to communicate the support and wanting to be more of a bridge and community for those people. And I thought that was really fantastic. I think that there is a growing number of churches who are probably more open now than there ever were. And I'm curious if they are approaching Christianity in a way that's kind of similar to those people in like TikTok comments who are like, we don't follow it word for word, the scripture and these verses and all these crazy things. And I hope that there are, queer people out there who were at Pride who saw those booths and wanted to form that connection and did, and have, another wonderful community to support them.
As long as there's no signs that say God hates fags.
Yeah, as long as they're not, like, leading them into the church saying, rainbows welcome, and then, like, out the back door, they're just, like, loading the gays into a truck that's, bound for hell.
Yeah, off to conversion therapy or something, right?
Yeah. Conversion therapy truck. All aboard.
We tricked you.
Yeah, we got you. I do have one more question if we have time.
We have so much time, BB.
Oh, well, BB, this is one of your own. How do you feel about rainbow capitalism?
Well, Jackie, if you listened to my episode, you would have known what
I... Well, girl, as we already established, I didn't.
You didn't. I said that the companies need to be doing more to give back to the community they're profiting off of. So this can include spotlighting their queer workers, their queer creators outside of the month of June, and also donating far more of their products. Well, sure, products, but also donating more of their revenue from Pride products to certain organizations that could really help, really need the money. So I think I said to Matt that I'm sure Nike or whatever can take the L for a month on their Pride product and then just donate all the money to some sort of better fund. It's just, I think, you get a lot of, such as it is with like the Black Lives Matter movement and trans rights and things like that, companies are sometimes afraid to take such staunch stances. But with the queer community, especially the gay community, the rainbows of it all, companies are way more open to doing that. I think that's because gay and Pride have become so sort of in the lexicon of, capitalism now. And they're fine putting their money where their mouth is a little bit. They could be doing more, but it's also interesting to see things like I said, Black Lives Matter, or particularly, trans struggles, even women's struggles, women's rights with, or I should say vagina owner rights with things like abortion. It's strange that they won't do the same for those things, but
can't make as much money off of them.
It's true.
I will say I agree mostly with what Pat has already said. I agree with all of what Pat said. But as an addendum onto that, I think that it's interesting when some of these companies will celebrate Pride, sell Pride merch, again, make money off of the queer community. but then go ahead and donate money to politicians that are anti-LGBTQ. So for example, we saw this with Disney. We all know that Disney does sell some Pride merch, but was donating to certain anti-gay politicians in Florida, and I'm certain they still probably are donating to anti-gay politicians in other places. Cowards.
Disney's cowards.
And I'm sure that companies across the nation are doing this as well, across many different boards. I don't have a list in front of me of the companies that are doing so, but I bet you there are companies who are selling Pride merch, profiting off of the LGBT community, while at the same time donating to anti-gay politicians. That part I definitely do not agree with. That's my opinion.
I think I agree with pretty much all of that. The other thing that keeps coming to mind is something that I frequently hear you saying, Matt, is that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. So my biggest beef is, sure, sell your Pride shit. You should be doing more for the community. I know of a brand that they were trying to do something for Pride Month, and it turns out that, they weren't going to donate anything to any type of Pride foundations like the Trevor Project, whatever. That was nixed, but there's so many others and who do the same things, who run their campaigns and make so much money, and they don't put those profits to good use. And unfortunately, it's not unique to the LGBTQ community, because my biggest beef is with where we're at with capitalism and how it's just an awful system that's just sucking us all dry and taking our money and our rights.
Yeah, I mean, I think that after watching The Good Place too, it makes you realize that no matter what you do, I could buy an apple from the grocery store and somehow I'm contributing to like the carbon footprint or like climate change in some way. And there's absolutely no way that you can be a consumer under our current system of capitalism while still being completely ethical. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm always like, I'm just going to buy like whatever I want. I don't necessarily have to agree with what the company is doing, and I can be outspoken against it. Mm-hmm. Like I have an Amazon Prime subscription, but also I don't agree with Amazon and a lot of things that they do, and Jeff Bezos in general. But I will still have my Amazon Prime subscription because that 2-day shipping is convenience.
It is. And I really hope that someone kills Jeff Bezos.
Okay, threatening to murder on the podcast.
Does not endorse any sort of murder.
I said I hope someone does. I certainly can't. I don't have the money to, but I hope someone does. I hope our whole capital system is just flipped on its head.
Well, that's something I can get behind.
And if it gets flipped on its head and crushes Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who am I? And maybe Trump's there too. I don't know. I'm just saying that
it's one big accident.
A win-win. Whoopsie.
Wow. Well, Matt, what's the time? What's the time?
Oh, we're at over an hour.
Well, this has been lovely.
This has been lovely. Thank you, everybody. Jackie, thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah.
Jackie does have a Twitch channel, by the way, for anyone listening.
Twitter.
And a Twitter. Their Twitter is king_Jaqueen, spelled JAKWEEN. I'll put the links to all of this in the description, obviously. And their Twitch is Jackie_the_bananas. Again, you could find that in the description. Anyway, follow them.
Just look at the links, but don't actually click them.
Don't click them.
Don't support this dyke.
No.
Here we go.
Yeah, here it is. My content's for dykes only, no fags allowed.
Right. Mm-hmm. No fags, no femmes.
Fags. We have a strict no masks, no femmes. We have a strict no fags policy. Yep.
No masks, no femmes. Only like non-binary presenting people allowed.
Subscribe to Jackie's Only Dykes.
myonlydykes.com. Yep.
Yeah. We also have a Twitter at WDTGT Podcast. And we also have a Twitch at What Do the Gamers Think, GAYMERS, where you can find us streaming with Jackie very regularly. And we also, all three of us have a Discord at Pride Empire. All those links are available at our Twitter in the link tree. We also have Redbubble for merch if you want to buy stuff. And I just, once again, thank you, Jackie, for such a lovely interview. I'm hoping the people who listen got it, or watch even, got a chance to learn more about you. And happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Wow. Happy Pride Month.
And Matt, do you want to sign us out?
Yeah, I am Matt Klubeck.
And I'm so sore.
And I was at the January 6th riot storming of the Capitol.
Hello, FBI. Hello.
911.
You've exhausted my pussy.
You've exhausted my pussy.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.